Hello, welcome everyone to our first and only info session for our Sustainability in Action PSA Challenge. My name is Esther Park and I am the VP of Programming for Oolite Arts. For those that don't know, Oolite Arts is a Miami Beach arts organization where we support artists through various resources and programming. And part of one of the program is these amazing opportunities for our local filmmakers and creatives. So I want to say this is our third public service announcement challenge. We just finished a pretty successful Save the Bay PSA challenge that I hope everybody can get to watch on our YouTube channels. More information, of course, on our website and our Instagram. But please check those PSAs out. They're super fun. And it's 30 to 60 seconds of how you can support and save the bay. And now we've kind of shifted gears and moved on to the beautiful Miami Beach. If you guys see, I'm like in, what is it? Am I in South Beach, Betsy? What's my background looking like?
Kind of maybe up in Mid Beach. Maybe that's like Surfside that's kind of pointing
Ooh,
out. I don't
yes.
know. It could be that, or maybe, yeah, like the lower part of Mid Beach. It's hard to
Anyone in the
tell.
chat, let us know what you guys think. What area of Miami Beach am I in? Winner will win. I don't know. No one will win anything. Anywho, so we are now shifting gears and we are so excited to be partnering with the city of Miami Beach to do our next PSA challenge, which is all about saving our amazing beaches. Yay! So before we kind of go into the logistics of what it's going to take to submit your application, and mind you, the application is super simple. I thought it would be amazing to have Betsy Wheaton, who is the director. Okay, I'm going to mess this up. Environmental and Sustainability Director.
You got it. Yep. Environment and Sustainability Director with Miami Beach.
Amazing. So, Betsy, how long have you been in this position?
It's kind of crazy. I have been with the city for 13 years.
Whoa.
It's hard for me to believe, but they didn't create the department actually until 2016. So it's a relatively new department, and it's exciting to have worked for a city that kind of at the very beginning wasn't even thinking sustainability, and now it's its own department. So
Yeah.
it's been quite a ride, and it's exciting that we get to also merge arts and the environment, because I think that's the way that we're going to touch people's hearts and get people excited. There's definitely needs and continues there to be a need to shift culturally how we think about the environment. And so I'm very excited about this partnership and what comes of the different PSAs, because I think, it's definitely a step in the right direction.
And would you say this is one of the most unique department and positions for any city that's working in sustainability and environmentalism?
For sure. Miami Beach really has been a leader when it comes to environmental protection, thinking about sustainability. Other cities, they do have maybe an environmental side or a sustainability side, but the fact that we have a whole team that's dedicated to thinking about sustainability every day, thinking about the environment, working with the different regulatory agencies is pretty unique. And I think Miami Beach is really lucky because we do have natural resources that we need to protect. So I think that, our tourism is based on that. People come to Miami Beach and want to live here because of, the natural environment, the bay, the beach, the ocean. So yeah, I think we're lucky that we get to lead the way, and yeah, just kind of, I hope that this movement continues to build.
Yeah, so I thought it would be great if you would want to share screen and kind of go through what your department does, give some really amazing real life examples of what is currently happening as we speak with the city. And of course, this is great for our filmmakers and artists to get inspired. So It's all
Perfect. So
you.
I'll just do a short presentation. There's a lot of slides, but I'm going to go through them fast. If anybody has any questions as I'm going through, please just throw them in the chat, and I'm happy to answer as I go along. And then, of course, we can do Q&A at the end. So just to kind of give you a quick overview, the city's Environment and Sustainability Department is comprised of 3 divisions. We have our environmental division, which is focused on adaptation to climate change. So, how do we adapt as a city to sea level rise, increased heat, storm events? That's what our environmental team's focused on. And then sustainability and urban forestry is looking at it more from a mitigation standpoint. So how do we reduce our impact? How do we reduce greenhouse gas emissions? How do we reduce our plastic use? How are we better stewards of the environment? So I'm going to give a quick overview of each division just to kind of give, the group understanding of, the kind of work that we do here in the city. Our urban forestry division is responsible for managing our urban forest. Some quick fun facts. Trees have multiple benefits, everything from reducing runoff, treating stormwater before it's discharged into the bay, providing habitat, making our streets more walkable, as well as reducing the heat island effect. We actually started last week doing some temperature readings so that we could understand truly the benefits of, of trees to reducing urban heat island. And this is from just Friday. On Friday, when we did the samples of an area in South Beach, an area where we had no trees, was 140 degrees, where this street where you see here in Meridian was only 91 degrees. So that's close to 50 degrees change just by having that tree canopy. And that would be like where you're standing, under the trees. So trees have a lot of benefits. So that's why we spend money and have a team that's focused on protecting the trees that we do have. We have an urban forestry master plan that has set canopy coverage goals. We're looking by 2040 to have 22% tree canopy. We're right now at 17%. We're also looking at ways that we can optimize the trees that we do have. For example, we take into account sea level rise. So as we're selecting species that we're planting in the ground today, we're making sure that they would be appropriate as we think about warmer temperatures, higher groundwater levels, saltwater intrusion in the future. We have, I'm going to show a few slides of some things you can look at online. We have our open tree map, which is an inventory of all the trees in the city. And it has this great calculator on the right-hand side where you can calculate the benefits, both of a single tree as well as an area of trees. So, there's a huge benefit from an environmental perspective of having a healthy canopy. And you can find that on our website. Okay, next is our sustainability division. As you can see on the left-hand side, they do a lot of different types of projects, everything from green buildings to electric vehicles. We do an annual greenhouse gas inventory. Our sustainability division is also responsible for all of our solid waste reduction initiatives, including recycling, composting. And most excitingly, we're going to be doing a climate action plan. We're in the process of doing that now that should be released in early 2022. Okay. So to kind of give an overview of our greenhouse gases, unlike other areas of the United States, in Miami Beach, it is actually our built environment, which is the #1 contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, where looking at the country, it would be transportation as the biggest emitter. So as we're thinking about programs and policies, we're focusing on how do we reduce energy use of the built environment? How do we design buildings better? How do we retrofit buildings so that they have less of an impact? So another piece is we look at policy. So things that our team does is write ordinances that help make our city greener. So in 2015, we passed one of the strongest green building ordinances in the country that requires all new construction to be LEED Gold or Living Building Challenge. And then if buildings for some reason cannot build to these standards, they're required to pay a percentage of their construction costs. So that allows us to begin to collect money from private development so that we can invest it back in the city. As we have, we have an ordinance regarding height exemptions so that we can allow solar panels and wind turbines and other sustainability elements to be built into projects. Oops, I don't know where. We have an urban heat island ordinance, like I talked about earlier. One piece of it is our tree canopy and getting more trees so that we reduce heat. Another piece is looking at solar roofs and white roofs in order to reduce the reflection and the heat created by these buildings. We have EV ready ordinances looking to expand availability of electric vehicle charging so that individuals can make that change. We're seeing a lot more people investing in EV cars. Of course, plastic pollution. I think that is something that, you know, we focus very heavily on in Miami Beach. We see the impacts of plastic on our beaches, in our waterways. And so a lot of our projects and programs look at how we can reduce plastic pollution and increase awareness from our public. You know, it's always best to choose reusable over recycling because once a plastic bottle is created, a lot of times it doesn't get to the recycling plant and ends up in the environment. About 2 or 3 years ago, we launched our plastic-free MB campaign. It's a business certification program where businesses can sign up for level 1, level 2, or level 3, and based on the single-use plastic that they've reduced, that they've removed from their business, they can get certified. Our website, Plastic, patronize the businesses that have signed up because a lot of times we find that when businesses hear from residents that they want them to be plastic free, they're more inclined to make that jump and make that change. We also have a number of policies in place. So in Miami Beach, plastic straws and stirrers are banned. We also prohibit the use of single-use plastic bags from being distributed at sidewalk cafes. Unfortunately, the state preempts us from doing much more, but we're always looking at creative ways that we can get our businesses to help us reduce single-use plastics. We also have one of the state's only polystyrene bans. So you cannot buy styrofoam cups. You won't receive styrofoam if you go to any cafes or businesses. So that's been, you know, for us a huge win in getting styrofoam off of our beaches, out of our waterways. And, you know, it's, I think, an important step community-wide for us to reduce that type of pollution. Recycling, it's the law. We have a number of initiatives, everything from electronic waste recycling to, we have a few sites where you can recycle your clothes and your shoes. And it's a great way to not have to send things to the landfill. Also, last year in 2020, one good thing came out of the COVID year. We started our first composting site. So in North Beach, up on 85th Street, we have a compost site that's managed by Miami Beach Botanical Gardens, and it's free for residents to access. You get a code, and then you can bring your fruits and other compostable items to get composted. And then once you sign up to be a part of the program, you can also get free composting once the pile has been processed. We also have a number of campaigns, everything from anti-litter to our sea turtle program. And then most recently, we're trying to get the word out about picking up after your dog, as water quality is a huge issue, not only in Miami Beach, but countywide. All right, next is our environmental resources team. I want to start off by talking about the sea level rise curves. In Miami Beach, we utilize the Southeast Florida Regional Climate Change Compact's curves. And as you can see, there's 4 spaghetti lines that kind of give a projection of what we might expect in the future. Highlighted in blue, we have the IPCC and the NOAA curves. So, these I think are probably closer to what we expect to see. And as we're making planning decisions, we're expecting between 10 inches and 17 inches by 2040 and 21 inches to 40 inches by 2070. So, as we're thinking about how we design projects, how we plan infrastructure, we're taking this into account. Also recognizing that sea level rise is just one piece of the climate change challenge. We also have increased heat, like we talked about, increased rain events, more hurricanes and storms, which the city is going to have to be preparing for. So, another piece of this division is thinking about our natural resources. It's everything from protecting manatees on the bay side to our coral reefs, which are located right offshore on the Atlantic side, protecting Johnson seagrass in the bay, and then of course, expanding the mangrove shorelines along the bay side of the island. Our environmental resources team is the protector. A big piece of what we do is looking at the beach, making sure that we have a healthy dune system and sand on the beach, because it not only is our first line of defense if there's storms, but it also provides vital coastal habitat for birds and other animals. We are scientists, liaison inspectors. We have inspectors that go out to construction sites to help make sure that they're not polluting. We also have a number of programs from our water quality monitoring to groundwater so that we're making sound science-based management decisions. Same slide. Pollution prevention is of course important. This slide is I like because you can see the different locations on the right-hand side where we monitor water quality. So we do monthly sampling so that we can understand the different nutrients and bacteria that we have in our waters, so that we can adjust what we're doing to better protect the ecosystem. In 2019, we removed 787 pounds of nitrogen, 555 pounds of phosphorus, over 8,000 pounds of trash from the streets. And we also have a waterway contractor that picks up, I think, 19 tons a year of material that gets discharged into our waterways. Also looking at how do we redesign our parks in order to provide a bigger benefit. This is a former golf course that is going to become a community park, and it's designed with this stormwater retention lake, which is going to help to capture and treat stormwater, as well as provide habitat and wetland habitat inside the park. That should be going under construction in the next few months. And we're excited because this is going to be really one of our first resiliency parks where we're thinking about how do we design the park to in taking into account sea level rise and a changing climate. This past January, I'm very pleased to report we passed our first fertilizer ordinance, which is a key step in reducing the amount of phosphorus and nitrogen which are in fertilizers from getting into the bay. The bay is a lower nutrient system, so it's really important that we keep fertilizers from getting to the bay, because those increased inputs harm the ecosystem. And it's one of the reasons now that there is so much focus on the bay, is because of all the land based runoff that's going into that ecosystem. We're designing green infrastructure. Here are a few of our living shorelines. We're trying to expand where we have mangrove shorelines so that we can get the ecosystem benefits that habitat provides. Looking at our beaches and dunes, I love this picture. It's one of my favorites. I'm sure all of you are familiar with Loomis Park and Ocean Drive. This is taken right by 10th Street, or maybe 14th Street. You can see the picture on the right is from the 1960s. That seawall was where the ocean used to go up. Because of the beach renourishment that happened in the 1970s, and then accretion over time, we now have a much wider beach. So you can see the picture at the bottom, the wide beach that we have today. And an important component of that is the dune system, is that green band that runs parallel to the sand. And what happens is the vegetation actually captures sand when we have storm events. And so it builds up higher over time and keeps that sand in the system. We do habitat restorations with volunteer groups. This is a group from Surfrider Foundation, and they're removing a non-native plant called scavola. It is not native here to South Florida, and it outcompetes other dune vegetation that's beneficial. So we come in with volunteers and we remove that. I definitely encourage you, if you're interested in that type of thing, these are great events, really fun, and it's a great way to give back to the city. We also try to get a lot of information out. It's really important that we communicate everything that we're doing. We have an app where you can actually go online on your phone and you can take some tours of the city and some different areas and learn about our sea level rise adaptation efforts. It's the MB Rising Above app. We also have our portal, which is mbrisingabove.com. I would definitely encourage you to go on and click around. You can learn about many of the city's efforts and read more about what we're doing. It's a great resource. When we try to update this, I think we update it almost every week because there's always new things happening. All right, and that is the end of my presentation.
For the record, you have the coolest, most important job ever.
Thank you. I love my job. I am very fortunate. Sometimes I pinch myself. I'm like, is this really happening?
I mean, you're pretty much a superhero. I don't know if you guys remember that show, Captain Planet, but that's Betsy, Captain Planet. Within that short 10-minute presentation, I actually learned a whole lot of what the city of Miami Beach does. And that kind of is the point of why we're doing this PSA challenge. And so this is where I kind of do the drone work of telling you all the semantics and the logistics of what we're looking for. But we're looking for 30 to second PSAs, and PSAs stand for public service announcements. And it's just essentially various ways of how Miami Beach is working to reduce waste. That includes recycling, composting, and the reduction of plastic use. And obviously, Betsy's presentation, there's a slew of other amazing opportunities for residents and just citizens alike to get involved and how they can help. We are looking for the best and brightest creative ideas. We are going to award 10 local filmmakers $2,500 each to produce these winning PSAs. And that will take place, I believe we have another week for the open call. And the open call itself is quite straightforward. It's not meant to be intimidating. It is through a platform called Submittable. So for those that are familiar with how that works, you do need to log in and create a login and password. But it's pretty straightforward. If you go on, it's like your name, your email, the usual, your address. And then they are looking for 100-word brief summary of what your PSA story is. So it's 100 words, it's not a lot. And then 150 words of what your PSA is going to look and feel like. So if you want to talk about mood or color board, is it black and white, is it noir, that sort of thing. 100 words of who is the ideal audience. So is this for children? Is it for business people? Is it for the average, jogger walking or jogging on Miami Beach? And 50 words of what language will be used in your PSA. We know that Miami is an international global city, and so language is quite important. And this one PSA that won for the Save the Bay had approximately 3 languages. So I thought that was really cool. So that I'm going to open it up to question and answer. We have a lively chat. If you guys want, raise your hand if you want me to unmute you, and you could ask verbally. If not, you could, of course, put it in the Q&A section. We have one question from Les Panton. Director Wheaton, what everyday steps can a resident like myself take to help protect our environment?
It's a great question. What I like to tell people is that we each have different things that we can do. So look for 3 ways that you can make a difference. So, for example, for me, I got rid of my car. So that was an easy one because I live close to work, and just especially now with Ubers in a tight scenario. But I, ride my bike, and it's an easy way to not be polluting, as well as I carry a reusable water bottle with me. And then, of course, diet. So thinking about what I'm eating, trying to eat a mostly plant-based diet, because that does have, ripple effects on reduction of greenhouse gas emissions to just better use of land. But that doesn't work for everybody. So I encourage everyone to just think of what are some small things that you can do and take baby steps. One of the things that I found out during the pandemic was that they have bamboo toothbrushes. So it's a great way to switch from plastic, because you use a plastic toothbrush, and every few weeks you're having to replace it with another plastic toothbrush. So bamboo is a great alternative. And so it's just every little day things. It's like, and like for plastics, I always try to, which it can get upsetting, just reevaluate what plastics are you using every day and what could be switched out with something else. Because really, in the end, it's that reduction piece, and how do we reduce our overall footprint, that will have a big difference. And if we each make little steps, it does add up over time.
Yeah, that's a great answer. We also got a emailed list of questions from Marty Rickenstein, who actually is attending here in the info session. But the questions that are asked, I guess I could just read them out loud and we can answer. What are you looking for in the application? Creativity, spunk. As you know, you only have 30 to 60 seconds, so that's not a lot of time to kind of get your point across. So, and part of the challenge too is the application, you're only limited to a certain number of words. So it's one of those things, choose your words wisely. So yeah, anything creative. I highly recommend everyone look at the past PSA winners. As I mentioned, this would be our 3rd PSA challenge. This recent one we just did was for Save the Bay, and the first one we did was for masks. And all of these PSA videos are on our website and YouTube. It's oolitearts.org, so please go and check out some of the winning PSAs. And Marty also asked, how open are you to interpretation of the prompt? Very open. We believe that artists can save the world. So please be as creative and as open as you'd like. Yes, 1000% we are open. How involved is Oolite and or the funders through the production process? We are not involved much. I think that is kind of maybe a blessing and a curse, but we obviously will write you the check and you're kind of on your own. We will do some kind of weekly check-in, see how you are doing, but ultimately this is a very funded and hands-off ordeal. Do we need to cover all 3 issues suggested in the PSA? No, you do not need to cover all 3 issues. You could pick 1, you could pick 3, you could pick 17, up to you. What else? What do you see Miami Beach's current strategy to reduce waste to be? I guess Betsy, if you wanted to tackle that, obviously that presentation says a lot, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think going back to sustainability, you know, there's so many different facets to it. And that's why I would encourage all the applicants to look at mbrisingabove.com to see what other what else we're doing in that sustainability realm. Because I think, you know, waste reduction is one piece. And, you know, I think, of course, it's one of those pieces that is so important because we really need to change behavior. And that's, I think, where you all come in. And so, you know, for us, the reduction of waste is everything from reducing overall consumption and really trying to focus on that. And then reusing, if, you know, every chance you get. And then finally recycling. So, you know, there is recycling in Miami Beach, but there's a lot of materials that aren't recyclable. So that's why that whole reduce and reuse is so important. I think, does that answer the question?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many, but definitely, what is that? Miami Beach Rising, MB Rising, you were saying?
MB Rising Above. I'll throw it in the chat for everyone.
Yeah, that'd be great. And finally, Marty asked, Marty, these are really great questions. What is the motivation for this project? I will pinpoint Lisette Garcia. If she's still on, if she's still zooming in with us. Lisette, who is the Director of Culture and Tourism for the City of Miami Beach. She reached out saying, hey, she's here. Lisette, I'm gonna unmute you. Do you want to say a few words? Yes, no?
We're gonna volunteer her.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna let her unmute Lisette, allowed to talk. Hi, Lisette.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm so excited. This is a dream come true. This program is funded by our Film Incentives Fund in our film office, and we're so excited to partner with Oolite Arts. You're the premier visual and arts organization on Miami Beach, and you are single-handedly incentivizing the film industry on the beach, and you have your cinematic artist residency, and who else to partner with. And thank you to Betsy Elizabeth Wheaton, Director of Environment Sustainability. This is amazing to be working with you guys, and we're so excited, and we can't wait to see what PSAs we get. Thank you guys for everyone who's joining and is interested.
Yes, thanks, Lisette. Okay. All right. So that is kind of the genesis of why we're doing this. Is there any other questions? Also, if you guys want, raise your hand, I can unmute as well. No? All right, well, I believe this is it. I mean, if there are any further questions or if you have any concerns or comments, please email us at email@oolitearts.org, and we will get your emails and questions answered accordingly. And if there is, besides MB Rising, which I think Betsy put in the chat, anything else that you can kind of point to our filmmakers and our artists where to look?
I think that the website's a great place, the mbrisingabove.com. There's so much information there. And, I'm so excited for this because I really, we're government, so we speak government talk. I mean, even in my presentation, I couldn't help but talk about permitting and policy. So, it's definitely not the way to connect the general public to everything that is going on and change the way people see Miami and Miami Beach. So I'm so excited to meet the artists, to meet the filmmakers, and see what comes out of this. So, thank you everyone who attended today, and can't wait to see where this goes. And, don't hesitate to reach out to my team's super accessible. And if you have questions, just shoot me an email. I'll put my email in the chat as well. Always happy to answer questions or have a conversation if you would like to learn more about what we're doing or a specific issue.
Awesome. If anyone if anyone has really creative ideas for a PSA about permitting, go for it. I mean, I challenge whoever is out there. All right. Well, thank you all for attending. This, of course, will live in the internet for further viewings. And again, please share to all your artists and filmmakers. More the merrier. Again, the application is on our website at oolitearts.org. And yeah, we can't wait to read your ideas. So thank you all, and please stay safe. And yes, we'll all get through this one non-plastic bottle at a time.